Hi everyone. Today we are going to move on to a new topic that is the list in Python. And here's a very quick review on what we learned so far, especially related to iteration. And understand iteration is a huge topic. We have done a lot of the coding, and hopefully by now you are confident about writing iterations, because even though later in this semester we won't focus on iterations, there are more data types like the list, nested list, and then we still will use iterations from time to time. Okay, so well, last lecture we talked about the continue, right? And let me ask you this: what's the difference between continue and break? So think about it. For break, it means when we trigger a break in the middle of a iteration, what do? We immediately finish the whole iteration. So the whole iteration is done. Not the current round, but all the rest of the possible rounds, they are all done. Okay? And how about continue? Continue means when we trigger the continue, we just stop the current iteration. However, we are resuming in the next possible iteration, right? So that's the difference between continue and break. Okay, and here are are two examples. Okay, if we want to visit a string character by character, and we know how to do that, so excuse me, we can do for letter in Python rocks. So that's a string, right? We are using the letter as a control variable to visit this string character by character. Okay, and then if the letter is a white space, and then we do a continue, and moving on, we do current letter colon letter, right? Okay, if you want to trace this code, what are you going to see? Well, clearly, we are visiting this string character by character, and then we are going to print Python, and then how about space? So when there's a space, we just skip the space, and then we do ROCKS. Okay, so for this one, if we want to do a continue, when we see a white space, this means we are going to skip visiting the space, but then we still will print ROCKS. Alright? Okay, and how about we change that? How about we change that to break? So if we are visiting the white space and then we do a break, what are we printing? So at the very beginning, we will still print Python, and then we have the space. So if we have the space and then we do a break, are we still gonna print ROCKS? The answer is no, because once the break is triggered and then the whole iteration is done. So we will only print the Python in the second piece of the code, right? Okay, so today let's talk about the list, and let me give you example. Say we have four ways of the four family members of this one. Okay, so we have a dad, a mom, and two sisters. Okay, and then we have four ways. So if we want to name them with four weights, weight 1, weight 2, weight 3, weight 4, well, this may not be a good code. I would say weight underscore dad, weight underscore mom, weight underscore elder sister, weight underscore uh, uh, younger sister. Okay, so but even though like this, there's still a problem, because we have four family members and then we have to give four variable names. Okay, say if I want to uh, record the weights of all the students in this class, and then I have 20. Does that mean I have to give 20 variable names? That's really a lot. Probably that's not so cool, right? Well, and this is one of the reasons that we want to do lists. For the list, we are making a collection of the objects, and we are only giving one variable name to the collection of the objects, so we don't have to name them one by one. Okay, so well, list is one of the most flexible ordered collection of objects. And remember, well, here we talk about ordered, right? So this means for a collection in as a list, well, the order of the item matters. And you may say, well, if we have a collection of the object, and then of course the order matters, right? Like the first character, the second character, the third character, right? So like in a string, then the order matters. Well, why do we want to emphasize that? And the answer is later in this course, we are going to see some unordered objects. Okay, so not all the data type in the Python are ordered. Okay, well, and then well, this is a object. Well, we can collect a group of the objects, and then it's well, the sequence is from the left side to the right side, similar to strings, right? And then we are talking about strings, and remember we can use indexes to visit the members, which are which are characters in a string. And then similarly, in a list, we can do the same thing. Well, and then we can another thing about the list is they are nestable. Well, this is the feature we don't have in a string. So we can have a list of lists. So a member of a list itself can also be a sublist, and this is allowed in Python. Okay, and another thing is, well, it can grow and shrink in place. In place means we are staying at the same memory space. We can add something or we can remove something from the list, and this kind of change can happen in place. Well, changes can happen in place. What does that remind you? What the opposite? The opposite way is the data type which cannot be changed in place. And what's the name of that type of objects? That's immutable, right? Well, a couple of lectures ago, we talked about immutability, and that is the data type that if we want to update that, we have to create a new object. So what do I mean? Say, if I have my num equals 10, okay, and then if I want to change it to my num equals my num multiplied by 2. Okay, now my num will be 20, and this is an easy math. However, let me ask you this. For the 20, can we erase the 10 and write the 20 at the same place? No. The answer is no, because this 10 is an immutable object. Why? Because that's an integer, right? So originally, my num is associated to the variable 10. However, when we double the my num, well, this 10, we can't erase that and write in 20 at the same place. Why? Because that's immutable. So what we have to do is we have to create a new object 20, and then the new object 20 will refer to the variable name my num. Okay, so this is a process. And then what will 10 be? 10 will stay in the main memory, and 10 will become an orphan. What do we call that? We call that a garbage in the memory, right? So this process, we create a garbage, and then Python will use its own garbage collection to help us get rid of this garbage and then reclaim part of the available memory. So this is a process of how Python deals with the immutable object. However, let's come back here. Here I say, well, a list can shrink and grow in place. Well, so a list will stay here. If it grows, it grows, it grows. Or if it shrinks, it shrinks, shrinks, shrinks. Well, this kind of changes can all happen in place. So list is very flexible, it's very powerful, and it's also a very different data type. It's so different to the strings and the booleans, the integers, floats, those data types we have ever seen. Okay? So let's take a look on how we can put a collection of the values together. That's easy. We use square brackets, okay? So this is the second way that we can use square brackets in Python. The first way is we can use a square bracket and then put an index there. So we can visit a string using a index in the square brackets, right? And now here is another way. We can use square brackets to define a list. And for all the members in the list, they need to be simply separated by commas. Okay, so just now we say those are the ways, and now I want to put them together into a list, and I only give them one name if possible. And another cool thing I can do is, well, see the second version. The second version, I use dad and then 198 and then mom 121. Okay, so in this way I'm putting a combination of different variable types together into one list following a pattern, right? So always the name first and then the weight, and another name, another weight, another name, another weight. So I'm putting a collection of the values of different data types together into one list, and in Python I can do that. Okay, and here is an even harder one. Well, for this one, you see this is the beginning of the square bracket and this is the end. And inside, we have some objects. And for each object, say that and then 198. What is that? One element in this list is a sublist. Okay? Well, this is a cool thing about lists. So we can put a list into another list. So we have a list of lists. And this is also possible in Python, and we call that nested list. Okay? And let's take a look on a quick exercise. A list can contain only integer items. Is that true or false? It is false, right? Because in Python, we can put anything into a list. So for example, if I want to do that, I can say my string list equals, and then I do a hello, and then, oops, and then word, and then Python. Okay, so now I created a list of strings, and then for example, if I want to do print my string list, and then what do I have? I will have this whole list printed. And then how about I do something like I visit that with a specific index, for example 1. Say, well, for index 1, well, remember when we are counting the indexes, we're counting from 0. So this is index 0, index 1, and index 2, right? So if I'm visiting a member with index 1, and then I'm supposed to get word. So let's try that. Okay, I do have word. Okay, so this is the content for this lecture, and I will see you in the next video.